Hello everyone, it's Grandpa Hickory. When everything you've worked hard for, everything you've built, comes crashing down. Now listen, each and every one of us, we want to have nice things. And that's true. We all want to have things. I want a homestead off-grid. And now for over 5 years, I have been with one realtor after the other realtor. I've went out of state into Tennessee, into Georgia, into Alabama. And I keep running into the same problem. Now, not all realtors are bad. I'm not putting realtors down. There are good realtors. I just haven't found them. And I have dealt with so many of them, I can't even number all of them. And I was going to give the names, and YouTube contacted me and told me that I'm not allowed to do that because of legal reasons that would pull me and YouTube both into. So I'm not allowed to tell everybody. Well, anyway, listen, there are good realtors. And you that have found them, God bless you. Please pray for me. I'm looking. But let me tell you now, when everything you've worked hard for, that you've built, that you have worked so hard to get. You people that have retired, you want to live off grid, you want to get away from the city, you want to be independent, have your own garden, biggest tomatoes, man, I mean good vegetables. Okay, let me tell you, I flew from DFW Airport, round trip ticket was $700 and something. I had to rent a hotel in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I had to rent cars. I went with realtors, and they told me about all this acreage in Tennessee. Boy, man, it sounded so good. Well, we got out there, but friends, beware. Let me tell you something. They didn't tell me that these were what you call elevated properties. And you say, what's that, Grandpa? Elevated properties in Tennessee and other mountainous, hilly country areas are areas that include what some people call mountains, things like that. Well, let me tell you something. I had to walk through mud. I had to climb. He had a four-wheel drive vehicle. I'm not going to say who he was, the realtor. I was with several of them. There were so many of them, I can't even number all of them. I went from one to the other, and they all did the same thing. But let me tell you what happened to me. We drive up on these mountains, and you walk around, and friends, there is such a thing as land erosion. And if you're interested in buying property in Tennessee or Georgia or anywhere where there's hilly country, or even in the Texas Hill Country, friend, I could tell you, oh Lord, I can't even number the number of realtors I've been with in the Texas Hill Country that wanted to sell me property. Oh, you're not in the flood zone. You're not in the flood. No, you're not in the flood zone. You're in a mud zone in the Texas Hill Country. And you say, what do you mean, Grandpa Hickory? Everything you've built, everything you've worked hard for, then when the rains start in the Texas Hill Country, everything you got is washed away and ruined. That's why you see land coming up for sale in the Texas Hill Country. Now, back to Tennessee. So there I was walking and looking, and I walked to the edge, and when I did, I saw huge cracks like that down below me and behind me. And you know what that means? It's called wafers. Now, when soil that is elevated creates what you call a wafering condition, the soil starts separating. We call them cracks, but it's wafers. And they're moving. They are in the process of tumbling down the mountain, the hill, or whatever. So when you buy this property, you go in there and, man, you level it all out, you pay all the money, and you have contractors come in and you build your place and you get your chicken house going and you get all your animals, you got your homestead going. And then here comes the rains, here comes the tornadoes, here comes the tremendous weather conditions. And guess what happens, people? And a lot of people say, Grandpa, don't be mean about realtors now. I'm not being mean about realtors. All I'm doing is telling you what I've been through in my search for a homestead. People, all I want is a homestead where I can live. I don't want to live in a Democrat state where you got to pay state income tax, which if you will take the time and look, is totally unconstitutional. But these are Democrat taxes that they have been putting on the American people for their one world agenda. They've been doing this for 90 years. So we've got all these states where Republicans are in charge of, but they don't undo the Democrat laws. But when the Democrats come in, the first thing they do is undo all the Republican laws that they had passed when they were in charge. This has been going on for over 90 years. And it increased big time under LBJ after they had John Fitzgerald Kennedy murdered November 22nd, 1963. But I just want you to know that if you go into elevated properties and you buy them, we all like mountain living and everything else. But let me tell you, have you ever heard that old adage, what goes up must come down? Friends, I paid all that money. Rental cars, airline fees, round trip tickets, motel fees. Walked all over everywhere, through mud, came down with poison ivy so many times it was unreal. What am I doing? I'm still looking. I'm still looking and I'm a-praying. Hit the like button, subscribe. Grandpa Hickory, I'll see you on the next video. People, beware. Beware. Elevated properties, you better look and you better think and you better realize you're not familiar with land erosion. And if you're like me, you take people's words for things, but you can't do that. After you've been taken so many times like I have, you learn to stop. I had one realtor that they were going to sell me a house down in Granbury, Texas for $130,000. When Joe Biden and them stole the election and came into power in Washington, D.C., they upped the price to $300,000. And I already had a binding contract with them for $130,000. I got away from that real estate company. I left them. They're in Cleveland, Texas. And they were putting me in an area that was turning HOA. And their introducing fee to me was going to be over $3,795. And that's just to start with for an HOA fee that is annual and even goes up every 2 years. Now, do you understand how I feel about situations like that? I can't even begin to tell you how I've drove way down to Grand Saline, Texas. I've walked around, come down with poison ivy, and then after I looked at all the property, then they pull out these papers and say, well, you got to look at this now. I have to let you look at it. So what is it? Well, it's a legal disclaimer. It's you're going to have to get flood insurance, and it's going to cost you a lot of money because you're in a flood zone here. And I told him, but I told you on the phone over a month ago that I didn't want to look at property that was in a flood zone. But see, they don't care what you say. They want to try to push these properties on you. And Zillow, I can't even begin to tell you how many places I've drove to out of state and everything else for Zillow, only to get there and find out that their pictures, their photographs were faked. And all you're buying is ugly houses that aren't worth $60,000, $50,000 a piece. And they've jacked them up to $186,000 to $286,000 to $315,000. People, I've been through this so many times with realtors, I could just cry my eyes out. I like realtors, don't get me wrong, and I'm still using them. I have several of them sending me properties, and I appreciate them doing that, but they're trying to put me down in Waco. I don't want to live in Waco. They're trying to put me down in Sierra Blanca and Van Horn, Texas, which is Desertville, Texas, and I don't want to live down there. You can't have a garden. All you can raise is cactus and they've got sidewinder rattlesnakes all over the place. I drove all the way down to Van Horn, Texas, all the way down to Sierra Blanca. I drove to Electra, Texas. I drove to Alney, Texas. Tornado Alley, and that's why they're trying to sell the properties. They've been hit by tornadoes so many times. That's why I can't go to Oklahoma or Alabama. They've been hit by a tornado so bad that they want to sell these properties to people, and the realtors, boy, they jump, oh yeah, this is good, this is a good place, this is a good deal, you need to take it, Grandpa Hickory. Then when you start doing investigations, which is what I do, you find out that they're putting you where tornadoes constantly come through. And I'm talking about Moore, Oklahoma. It's just so many places in Oklahoma. I can't even begin to tell you where all I've been. Tishomingo, Oklahoma City. I can't even begin to tell you where all I've been. I've been looking hard for 5 years. I've wasted a lot of gasoline. And I can't take that off my income tax. The realtors can take it off their income tax, but I can't take it off my income tax. Well, anyway, I'll see you on the next video. Hit the like button, subscribe. Goodbye from Texas. I just wanted you to be aware before you build and put all your hope and dreams only to lose it all by buying elevated properties. If you're going to do that, you better walk the land and look, and you'll discover right away the huge amount of erosion that has begun and will not stop. You can ask anybody that knows about erosions and properties, conditions, and they will tell you once erosion stops, you cannot stop it on elevated properties. See you later. Goodbye from Texas.